Ready?
It has been 6 months since we scrubbed, scoured, and restored this piece of history, and with a little farmer ingenuity, it is going into its new home right now.
And I can steady it until you get to the door, and then we'll put the rollers down. And
I'll let you. I'm gonna pick it up and I'll let you move that pallet.
Okay. I got good insurance.
We're gonna have some fun this episode. When we left off last episode, this house was just a shell. We need to install some homemade furniture into it, set up the tools of the kitchen, and see if this cook stove is going to work, or we'll burn the house down trying. If we can get it in here, we've planned a proper test with a house full of people tonight. But now it's first things first. A few months ago, we weren't sure we'd ever find an old cook stove for this pioneer house, especially an early 1900s one like this. These are getting pretty rare.
Hey, they're gonna get inside.
I'm gonna go inside.
Can you get in?
Yeah.
Hold the...
Come in. Ow, my phone's stuck. Grace and beauty.
We were on the hunt. We put the word out to friends and family and hoped for the best. But for a while there was nothing.
Okay.
Let's just walk it out. We'll drag it out on this. If we can pivot it at all, it's probably easier to do that than trying to pivot on those, I don't know. This might, Brad, be like the first time you learn to roller skate. And as soon as it goes on there, it might try to... Sure.
So, this is freaking me out.
I bet every town has that one person who knows everyone and knows all the history. Well, in our town, that's Shirley. And she came through big time on this one. She found this old stove just a week after us mentioning our search to her, hidden in a storage unit in town. If you guys haven't watched that episode where we find it and clean it up, go back in the journey and check that out. We can't be sure this 1800s pioneer house had a stove quite like this one, but it surely had something close. There was never any electricity out here. The power lines came through much, much later, and even then they never stopped here. So, odds are this house had a wood burner.
Here, lift up your end. Okay, sit down. Okay, move your foot and lift it up again. Okay, good.
Boy, are we lucky we have Brad here while we stand around and watch Robbie calculate the next move. Odds are everything happened on a cook stove back in the day. Food, laundry, heat, this was the heart of the house. And now, after a major amount of muscle has gone into scrubbing, degreasing, and scouring rust, it's as good as ever. These cast iron beauties might be old, but they were built to last, and this one has.
Went a lot easier than I thought it would.
Don't jinx it.
We can
We're not done yet. This is great, Brad.
So here we are, the moment of big reveal. A stove built before the Titanic ever set sail is fixed and ready to work again.
What do you guys think?
Can we test this out?
We need to test it out. Yeah. Where does the fire go? You're right.
And do you need any more of the blackening stuff?
Yeah, stove blackener
Stove
and
black-
nickel polish.
Stove top.
If we light the stove now, we'd burn the whole house down. We need to get the stove pipe punched through the roof. So Robbie is climbing up there to mark the metal in order to cut through the wood and tin. It's a straight shot through the peak. Easy enough to plan, a little harder to execute.
Happy.
See that?
That looks good, Will.
Well, I have a problem. I might.
I think that'll fit.
I might.
We went with double walls on the stovepipe. Not authentic at all, but the peace of mind is a sacrifice we're willing to make. A house or two in history has burnt down from a hot stovepipe combusting the wood around it. We'd like that to not be us.
I'm gonna see if there's any.
Touching what, the wood?
The wood, yeah.
Well, you don't want the rain and the hail coming in.
Well, I don't think that's gonna. There's other holes that can come in on.
While that work is going on, you may have noticed the interior of this house is coming along in leaps and bounds. The walls are the first thing in need of attention.
So I love the purity of the freshly planed wood, but the problem with pine is given sunlight, this is not gonna stay this color. This is gonna turn yellow. And with every bit of UV light that it gets, it's gonna get more and more yellow. That's just not a look that I really wanna see. But likewise, we don't wanna do something trendy that, you know, people will say, oh wow, that was the 2020s when they renovated this. We really want it to have a classic feel. So we'll see. We've got some like sour milk and lime paints that we could play around with, which are historic paints. Or we could mess around some more with oxidation materials and see if we can't just take that fresh wood and maybe tone it down a little bit, prevent the yellow from taking over.
Jesse's friend Susan stopped by to help make these decisions and to get this house not just functional, but truly special. We want this interior to be a workhorse, a place to cook, to practice pioneer skills, repair tools, and maybe just go back in time for a while.
Oh, Jesse, you put your candelabra from the other cabin.
Yeah, and we burnt it last night.
Oh,
So good.
Oh, I couldn't picture it. Smell it. It's very fresh.
So this is the wall. I'm tempted. I put that oxidizing solution on. So
Yes.
this is pine. So that's kind of the color that it turns pine.
All right.
So I'm tempted to do this whole wall and the plate rack and just have it be a tone on tone, one color.
You know what? I think it would blend so well with the original wall and the rafters.
Because I want the original wall to be the star of the show. And I want this wall to just be a supporting actor. That oxidizing solution on the outside is really dark because that's rough sawn wood. But this is all smooth, planed pine.
Yes.
So it's not going to absorb it as much. It should be much lighter.
Yep.
Like the nail heads. I want them to show. And if we paint it, I feel like they'll be lost.
I wouldn't paint it. That's my vote. Is this process easier to do?
Super easy.
Yes.
We could literally do it right now.
And that's exactly what they did.
So we'll get some of this oxidizing solution on the interior walls and see how it goes.
The graying effect will be pretty light, but it will allow this wall to become a thing of beauty once all the plates, pewter, and tools are hanging from it. And that is the work that starts now.
Hey hun, how's it going? If you hear a bunch of clanking around, that's Robbie putting the eaves on.
Okay,
So,
and then these. Yeah.
Cut nails at intervals all the way down at like a shaker rack.
Yes.
And then we can hang all the tools off of it.
These look like something they would have used in the day. Do it.
Let's do it.
Do it. Yeah.
What?
No.
This is hilarious. There's a lot more pewter in that box. Oh my goodness.
Look, George is gonna, George and Maggie are gonna love this. What a surprise inside here.
These boxes are gifts from friends and old basement finds we had tucked away and forgotten about. And that historic lime and sour milk paint we had talked about didn't make it to the walls, but it did make it onto the furniture. Jesse and Robbie built this tall, dry sink table the other day. It's pine, made from scraps from the trees we cut for wall boards, painted with a traditional milk paint, ordered in powdered form, and then mixed with water. The kids got their hands dirty mixing the practice colors. The final color is a deep Lexington green, popular in the late 1800s, with an oil and wax finish over it. Simple carpentry and nothing flashy, but it does the job. Alright, that's enough process. Let's cut to the chase. The interior is ready for guests, and for its first fire. We have guests coming in a couple hours, and tonight is a big night. It's not just the first time this little homestead has had a proper heat source in it since, the late 1800s. Tonight is more than that.
Okay, so tonight is Clayton's birthday party. Clayton is the photographer, the editor. It's been the three of us from the beginning on this project. Robbie and Clayton have been friends forever, and tonight is his 33rd. So we're gonna have a bunch of people out here. The house is kinda ready, but this will be the very first time firing up the Cookstove in the house. So yeah, I'm nervous. We've got some fire extinguishers on hand, and we're gonna hope for the best. We've been in prep mode, getting the place set. Before too long, we're gonna have a lot of people in this house. We're gonna test how strong this floor is. Robbie's nervous about that too. We're gonna have some good food, good friends, and a nice little get together. Happy birthday, Clayton.
Hey, how's it going?
Happy birthday to you, dear Clayton.
The party was humming along when suddenly the Cookstove gave everyone a huge fright. In all our fun and distraction, a glass Pyrex pan had sat a little too long warming on top of the Cookstove, and it shattered into 1,000 marble-sized pieces. Nobody got hurt, but the cornbread took a mortal hit. Luckily, the chili lid was closed, and a broom was handy. The old wood burner gave us a moment of panic, but it warmed us the rest of the night, while the campfire called some of us outside. You may have spied some special candles on the birthday cake, pure beeswax. Candle making is a classic bit of pioneer knowledge. Jessie had only ever used traditional tin molds up until now, but she and the kids thought she'd give birthday candles a try. I think we can say with absolute certainty that no pioneer made birthday candles in molds this way, but I bet they hand-dipped some small parts of string into wax and celebrated very near to this idea. Long cold nights made candles not just decorative, but downright strengthening to the soul. Beeswax or tallow is what they would have used, and it's something we'd like to explore making more of, especially with tin molds.
Ta-da! Wow!
Try holding it.
If it wasn't candles a pioneer was using, then it was oil lamps. The light from a good lamp is amazingly strong. Of course, you take a big risk scattering these about your space.
Now these oil lamps, I used a ton, and they were designed for railroads. The best part about them is that they mount to the wall, because one of the most dangerous things in any house is an oil lamp. I mean, a candle, you knock it over, it pretty much just goes out. I mean, it's a small flame. You knock over an oil lamp, you are in for a massive fire. So anything that mounts really securely to a wall that's hard to knock over, yeah, that's pretty good in my book. We're gonna try, get that wick burning and try not to smoke the globe, or the chimney as they call it. I love oil lamp light. I love it. It is so much more beautiful than electric light. And this basin's nice and full, so I shouldn't have to worry about it for the rest of the night. There is such an amazing smell that oil lamps and candles have. I can't describe it, but it is, it's amazing. I love this.
Fire is beautiful, but homesteads burn down all the time. Cooking fires, heating fires, they could get out of control fast. There were cabins and old stoves scattered all over this ranch back in the heyday of homesteading. Nearly all have rotted or burned to the ground. Just the bits of metal, stone, and brick remain.
There's a stove base. There was a cook stove up here? I guess the ground has reclaimed it. That is for a cook stove.
By the time the West was settled late into the 1800s, the days of the big open fireplaces were done, and the cast iron stove reigned. The famous author Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote extensively about these times out west.
Her family had just moved from the Kansas prairie, where the cooking was done, as it had been done for centuries in an open fireplace. Her new home had a wonderful surprise for Ma, an iron cook stove. More up to date than the Wisconsin stove, it had a big door on the side, which opened to show a big square place with a shelf across it. In other words, an oven. In experiencing both hearth cooking and stove cooking, Laura witnessed the greatest change in the whole history of home cookery. She would live to see many more changes. Kerosene and coal stoves, to gas and electric stoves, to automatic coffee pots and electric dishwashers. And she would never lose her sense of wonder about them. She's reported to have said, quote, "Aladdin with his wonderful lamp had no more power than the modern woman in her kitchen."
Before we go, we had one more adventure this week that you might enjoy jumping in on. The apples came in from the trees, and it was time to turn them into cider. That means the big annual cider pressing party at the ranch. Only this year, we did both the modern way and the old school way. The modern way is a DIY commercial grinder setup that everyone then switches jobs to run the pulp through a press. Out comes the rich juice of the apples, and the pulp finds a home too.
Hi ladies, here we go.
Let's go out and try the old-fashioned way. This relies on a little more muscle. This primitive press is something Becky picked up back east, and we've been eager to try. So let's gear up and see how this old invention works. We borrowed some pre-chopped apple pulp, which, let's be honest, the chopping and smashing is the real hard work of this job. So yeah, we're cheating. But the press has a beauty all on its own that is great to feel out.
It might need to slide over some more.
Yeah.
Like this. So you're pushing
there we go.
straight down.
Yeah, there we go. So keep pressing.
Yeah, I mean you'll see it. When it doesn't go anymore.
Yeah.
When you're not moving and the juice slows down, then you pressed it. It's how bad you want that last little bit.
Yeah.
This just.
That bear is gonna come back. No, that's great. Another round. Hey, Zane.
Sometimes, Zane, if you feel bored, you go. It makes it sound like the drill running.
Only if you're a motorhead, Robbie.
Becky and Zane arrive to watch the primitive press work. Zane, who you might recall, is an archaeologist here in Montana and came to look at this project at the very beginning. So what's his take on this unconventional renovation?
What do you think, Zane?
Yeah, you can see where the other part was attached.
So this wall, I literally just pulled it down and then lifted it back into place. We had to replace the bottom boards.
Okay.
There was a lot of rot, but there's fresh wood underneath it. Stone foundation.
You moved. Okay, those are some big rocks.
A little bit more stone than was here before.
Yeah. Cool.
You want to go see the inside?
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely.
let's go.
That
A layer of
smells
fresh.
good in here.
Do you remember this? This was the original door.
Yeah, it looks so straight now. That's beautiful. There's no hole in the ceiling anymore.
The trusses are basically the same style.
Well, the trusses, some of them were broken. You had to replace those.
Even the wood is pretty much from the same place. We just went out in the forest.
Pretty awesome.
Remember where the old bolts to when it was a grain bin?
Is this where this one was?
Yeah.
That's one of those, what's it called? A mater mark.
There's still some flies in it.
You always have flies. So is that relic ceiling from the other building?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tongue roof ceiling from the other building.
Trap door.
Trapdoor. Do I get to open it?
Yeah, open it. I don't know what's gonna come jump out at you.
Cool. That's your cold cellar, huh?
When the bandits come, we can hide down there.
Throw
Put a
the
rug
kids
over
down
it.
there. Did you build this? That's cool.
Just rustic.
Is this from the wood from this cabin, or is this from
Some of
something
it
else?
is. Like this old stuff is.
That's what I was wondering.
You can see by the thousands of nails they put in everything.
Right.
The rest
And
is
that's a
just
piece of-
salvaged.
Looks great. So windows don't open?
No.
Originally, they would have had, like a old school double hung
Uh-huh.
because we didn't find any window weights or anything. So they would have just slid up.
So this is the same window as...
And this, when we opened that wall up, we didn't know where a window was because it had all been boarded. That had been a window, it had been a door.
Right,
and
I
it had
think
been
that's
all
what
that
we
stuff.
looked at. It was confusing, some of those things.
I doubt a professional archaeologist can put their stamp of approval on this project, given all the liberties we took bringing the cabin back to life. But Zane's smiles say a lot. We think this project does show how to respect and honor history, all while being a normal working farm and ranch family. We did all we could on the cheap ourselves, with a love of the people who came before us. And for a humble house, well, this is 1,000 times better than being forgotten. With a stovepipe now in and working, it'll be time for the very last bit of exterior architecture, the massive stone steps to the front door. But hold your breath on that. It's coming next episode. We're chomping at the bit to heat this stove up and experience some cooking on it. So hit the like button and subscribe to see how that one all turns out. See you in the next one. It just might be the last one.